That One Movie Podcast. TOMP.
All right, spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Quite a bit to go through. The first one I want to mention is that opening scene is like terrifying. like, where it's like High Evolutionary's hand coming into the like get the raccoon. It was like the sound design of the whole scene. It was just like it felt very intimidating. It was like borderline silent, but it was also just like foreboding and everything. I was like hooked from the start because I was like, oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
And that's in the trailer too, but the way it plays out in the movie, I think is very effective. But movie opens, we're at nowhere, the space station thing that the Guardians have essentially revitalized. And it starts out with Creep being played over the Radiohead song playing over the, I can't remember. It's not a Walkman anymore. I don't remember.
It's a Zune.
It's a Zune. Okay.
Yeah, the Microsoft one.
Yeah, Rocket's listening to it over Zune. And I think that whole intro is really pretty cool because, I mean, good music in the background, but then you have Rocket kind of walking through, and it's a good way of establishing what all of our characters are doing. And most of them are helping rebuild this place, and Rocket's feeling a little down. So, yeah, I liked that whole intro.
Yeah, then Adam Warlock just comes out of nowhere. Well, he comes into nowhere, actually. And he just starts wrecking. I mean, the dude is just like OP.
Yeah.
He's like him and Captain Marvel, all right, basically at this point. And he just does some damage, man. It's like Man of Steel, where just things are just falling over and busting. And I'm like, how many people are just randomly dying in the middle of this? But yeah, no, I thought that was a very pretty fun fight. You got to see all the Guardians come in, try to take him out, and Rocket just gets lasered, blasted.
Yeah, and it kind of puts him in the coma for the rest of that movie, or for most of the movie, which I was kind of surprised by. I was surprised how long he was out of commission, and it's not even like. I feel like sometimes in these types of movies, like someone will be out of commission just because they're like overpowered or something or for some reason. But it's not like Rocket is overpowered. But it was a good way to, good motivation for the team and everything to get going. The thing I always think of with that opening fight with Adam Warlock is they play into it heavily in this movie is like Nebula's like invincibility and her just like reforming after getting like every like part of her shattered. Yeah. Like there was a lot of that in this opening fight, and I think it's really creepy and cool the way they do that. So I like that.
But Holden, then we're interrupted with some really cute animals. Oh, they're so cute. Even the scary rabbit spider thing.
Yeah.
Floor is cute. And Teefs. I'm Teefs. And Lila. Apparently otters are just awful animals.
Really?
Horrible. Look cute. Apparently just horrible to each other and to other species.
They are really cute.
They are really cute, though, aren't they? They're just like little demons, I guess, which is, I don't know. I haven't done any research, but that's what I'm hearing. But man, they're so adorable. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, they're all going to die. And yeah, that's why he's so scarred and jaded and just guarded and... That's why Raccoon is the way he is, and I'm like, I know this is gonna happen, but animals they're just so cute.
I was kind of surprised actually that all three of them died.
I was surprised that two of them died essentially off screen.
Yeah,
I thought like they were gonna go down one at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, that was pretty intense, but it is also just like heavily foreshadowed because they like. Every one of the scenes with them just ends with like them saying like, "Oh, it's great to have friends." I'm like, "Oh my god, dude!
Oh, let's play.
They're gonna die.
Let's give each other names and grow attached."
Yeah, it was
even when Lila dies, just that huge cinematic sweeping hug that's in the trailer and just.
Well, and see, so that's Marvel used their classic tricks in the trailer, maybe a little less so than they often do, but for like in the trailer when Rocket's interacting with like Lila and everything, it's Bradley Cooper. It makes it sound like it's adult Rocket like doing the laughing or whatever, and I'm like,
oh yeah.
So I was expecting a reunion or something, but then no, it wasn't.
Oh, I was not. I was like, Lila is the most dead of them all. Like, he cannot be that jaded. Unless there's some sort of betrayal or something. But, like, here's my one question. They call the thing inside his heart a kill switch. Like, if they really wanted to kill Rocket, why didn't they just activate that? I mean, all they wanted was his brain. So...
yeah, I don't know.
That was one question. I'm like, I just feel like maybe they should have explained that. Again, that was something more I was thinking about later, not during. But that is something I can forgive because I am not one minor plot hole destroys the whole movie for me. And again, that's something you could easily explain, or you don't even need to. It's fine. I thought it was good, but little Rocket doing his little science. Oh, you just gotta do this and do that.
It's so cute, little Rocket.
And it is, I mean, even like, so you talk about eugenics, but then it even brings in these questions of AI. Like, yeah, AI rote memorization is like the problem with all of these creatures that the high evolutionary makes. They're not able to create, except for Rocket is the one that has an original idea, and it can create. And that's why he's so obsessed with Rocket. Now, we don't know why Rocket is that way. It's never really explained. But that's why he's so obsessed with him. He wants his brain. And I thought that was a really cool idea as well. A little sci-fi element to throw in there as well.
Yeah. And as you mentioned in non-spoilers, I think that, like, relationship between the high evolutionary and Rocket is just, like... It gets pretty dark and everything. It feels like an abusive parent kind of thing, where it's, I mean, there are the good moments, but then there's like, I mean, there's like the moment where he's like, it wasn't really clear exactly what was wrong with him, but the high evolutionary like came in like spur of the moment thought and was like, you know, trying to get Rocket out of the cage and everything, and it's just. Yeah, it's very. I can understand why it's traumatizing for Rocket.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I really liked a lot of this. A lot of the creatures that he made were just disturbing too. Weird.
Yeah, it was very. Those like transformation bits were pretty disturbing, or like they're the evolution ray or whatever you call it. Yeah, that
like
was
simulated like 1,000,000 years of evolution or something, or billions.
Yeah, just like can't imagine what that does to a creature going through that. But yeah, I mean, even when you see him later on, and he has like the giant robot pig thing, and like it's just very very interesting, but
very
cool
weird.
designs.
But you like see it and you don't think it. Oh, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What James Gunn can get away with in his weird little world, but it's all grounded in what they've established earlier on in the movie.
Well, I think.
Go ahead.
I know I'm like I'm just like focusing on the high evolutionary stuff right now, but I think like the most disturbing part is like what Rocket does to him. Like,
yeah, I mean,
the bit where he's
when
like,
they show his face at the end, just.
Yeah, that was I'm like I can't believe they're showing this. Well,
like
I mean, it was bad.
One face.
Yeah, I mean, he had like it was bad enough that I mean the scene where Rocket was just like slashing at his face and him like screaming in agony and everything. It was like, oh my god. And I mean, they weren't showing it really much, but it was pretty gruesome. And then the aftermath, that was quite a bit. That was a lot.
Yeah. One person we haven't talked about, one character we haven't talked about yet is Gamora. And I thought that was an interesting storyline too, of like, naturally, if you're Star-Lord, you're like, this is this is the person I fell in love with, right? So like you're the same person, so you are gonna fall in love with me again. But then him coming to terms with that she's not, and she doesn't need to be, and he can miss the Gamora he knew, and still be amicable and understand that this is with this new Gamora, and come to terms with that she's a different Gamora and they're not the same, and that doesn't mean, it just helps him come to terms with that loss, and be able to kind of move forward with his life.
I honestly wasn't expecting that too. Like I went into this fully thinking somehow they were gonna play it off like, oh, they fall back in love or something. Like, I don't know. I did, for some reason, not in like a million years was I thinking that they were actually going to be like mature about like the outcome of this relationship and everything. But I think that was probably one of the biggest surprises for me, was that they just had Star-Lord come to terms with the fact that Gamora he loved is gone, and this new Gamora never really reciprocates that. Seems to grow fondness for the crew, but not like a love or anything. So
yeah, she's got her own thing going on with the Ravagers. Orgocorp, that was pretty fun little bit. Again, the little silly looking planet. You had the fun conversation between Star-Lord in like the private channel, and they're like, "Oh, red means yellow and yellow means green." And why would you do that? I don't know. It seems pretty intuitive to me. That was really funny bit there, and just this different suits, just fun, works.
Mantis makes the guy fall in love with Drax.
That's hilarious every time.
I was fully expecting Mantis to make those big monsters fall in love with Drax at the end. I thought that's where that scene was going when she was like taming them. I was like, she's gonna make them fall in love with Drax because it was set up earlier, but it didn't actually do that. I thought that would have been funny.
That didn't cross my mind. But it was fun to see Nathan Fillion too. He was just chewing the scenery in great ways. And I love that bit where they're just like, oh yeah, I got one of those guys too. It was one of those morons, you got to deal with them. Oh man, I got one of those too. That's a joke they kind of came back to way more often than I thought they were going to. I thought it was just going to be like that one-off scene. Like, oh yeah, I know that guy too. And then they just kept coming back to it, even when it was like he wasn't even talking to like one of the Guardians, just someone else.
Yeah, it was when he was talking to like Adam Warlock and whatever. Yeah, but he was great. Loved him. Loved seeing him there. Had James Gunn's wife was in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was the lady on the intercom.
Oh, she was.
What's her name from Peacemaker?
Oh. Harcourt?
Yeah, no. Harcourt.
Harcourt is James Gunn's wife?
You didn't know that?
Where? What? We probably talked about that on this podcast, Holden.
Yeah, no, because that's like a whole thing on the internet right now, is people are angry at James Gunn for putting her in everything, even though like that's not uncommon for directors put like people in movies all that. Like Nathan Fillion is in different James Gunn movies. Like, it's just people showing their maybe their hand of how they feel about women.
Well, it's like yeah, why wouldn't he do that?
Yeah, she's a good actress.
She was good. Like, I didn't even know. Like, I wouldn't have blinked twice. I'm not like, wow, that lady's really bad.
Yeah.
If she stinks, then make a big deal out of it. If she doesn't stink, who cares? Like, why wouldn't you? If she wants to do it, if you want to do it.
Like, I know it's not family, but Quentin Tarantino puts, like, the same people in his movies all the time. Like, who cares?
Yeah. I thought she was good. Obviously, Star-Lord is kind of does his charm and all that. I thought that was a good little twist when he's like, yeah, I was just playing her. And gets all the floaty suits. A lot of fun action bits there as well. There's the one guy that, what does he look like, a carrot? Is that what it was?
What?
What was the one alien guy? Was he looking like a carrot or something?
I can't remember what the joke with that. It was something like that, yeah.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, I that whole sequence I thought was a lot of fun. Little excursion. They can't get the override file. That cool file wall was like. Bloop, 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 bloop,
I liked that.
Kind of it gave me a little bit of Rogue One vibes, where they're looking for the Death Star files. Which, man, I really want to rewatch Rogue One after Andor. But apparently, never mind. Not going to talk about Andor here.
Don't get into Andor right now. I liked that whole sequence. It holds up because it's so fun, even though like in the grand scheme of things, like they really don't accomplish much in that. Like,
no, they don't. They basically are like, well, shoot, it's probably in that one guy's head.
Yeah.
Reminds me of like, what's his Lobot or whatever from Star Wars, from Bespin.
Yeah, looks like
he's
Lobot.
Got the thing in his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's Lobot.
Mm-hmm. Lobot, yep. But yeah, I thought that was fun, whole thing. And then they go to Counter Earth, which they meet that bat family.
Yeah.
There's like,
just
communicating to each other.
All the animal people looked great. It was a really good mix of practical costumes and CG. I thought it was very fun and unnerving too. Like it was like what's the thing where it doesn't look quite real, or like Uncanny Valley. It was like Uncanny Valley, but kind of used like on purpose. I think it was unnerving, but I liked it.
Yeah, no, it's very unsettling. The signs, like, why did they do this? Drax, hits the kid with the volleyball. I think that's in, or not the volleyball, the kickball. I think that's in one of the trailers, but still hilarious.
Yeah, pretty much everything with Drax in this movie is great. He's
him with all the little kids.
Yeah, doing the monkey noises or whatever.
That's a monkey? Like, just doesn't even sound like a monkey.
Yeah, it's like he's like doing a robot dance.
You speak their language? Why didn't you tell us you spoke their language? Why didn't you ask? And like normally like that would just be annoying, but like with the way they've set up Drax's character, that's exactly what Drax would have done. Like it would never even occurred to him to be like, oh yeah, I speak their language. It's like, you didn't ask. And then Mantis can just make him forget. Like, you think I'm stupid? Forget this conversation. All right, you're welcome that I did this. Let's get these kids out of here,
And that made me think of the bit where like Mantis has Drax go talk to Star-Lord and use like the metaphor or whatever.
Yeah, that was funny as well. Drax, that made sense. Yeah, it's a metaphor, like, and he goes on all those bits. Yeah, I will miss Dave Bautista as Drax.
Yeah, he is probably I don't know if he's my favorite character. I mean, he is the funniest, I think, consistently. I also do think like so much of the humor comes from him and Mantis. Like Mantis is great too.
There's a touch him to make him happy joke, whatever.
Oh yeah,
like,
that was like towards the beginning or something.
I'm like, wow. We have the MCU's first F word.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
It was pretty. Yeah,
I could feel the parents cringing.
Really?
could you? I could just like, there were some like definitely some kids in our audience. Like I could just feel the parents are like, oh no, what did they say? But
yeah, no, it was kind of fun because it was just in like a very mundane situation too. Like just, but I really liked that.
It was funny.
It was
very funny. I mean, this is spoilers, so you know when it happened. But yeah, I mean, Counter Earth, that was fun. Weird. You have the big ship. I like how Drax tricks Mantis to get on the motorcycle. Oh, let's just ride it back to the ship, just right there. Yes. Like,
well, yeah, and that's
clearly like those two characters have such great chemistry, and that's why it's just such a shame that we won't see them anymore. But it's so good.
Yeah, and that's another perfect example of like if it were another character, like it's almost like if it were another character, it would make me really angry that they're just not at the ship, because it's like very convenient that no one is at the ship to like help them get off the planet or whatever, and only Gamora is there. Gamora doesn't really know how to fly it or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's something Drax would do, so it's like funny and it makes sense. I like it.
Yeah. I suppose she could have just mind controlled him though and said, "Take me back to the ship." But
That's true.
Again,
Yeah.
that's a plot thing that I like. It works for me in the moment. Doesn't break my immersion. If I think about it later, I don't. It. The rest is so.
It doesn't ruin
a
the
good.
scene.
It's just such a high quality writing that it's just not going to bother me. Let's see. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about was Craiglin and Cosmo. I mean, obviously, like they are. The whole bad dog joke was funny. Like you're like, oh come on, I'm on the bad dog. like even though it's like very like low hanging fruit humor, it's still funny, and that they're building it up for the good dog moment. I thought the good dog moment was a little underwhelming for how much they built it up. I was like, I was expecting a little bit more from that moment, but whatever.
Yeah, it was still funny. I think one of the things that they've done so well with Cosmo, from what little we've seen of her, is like she's just like, I mean, the important part of the character is that she's incredibly intelligent, and she has these psychic powers, but she is still a dog, so like just thinks of how a dog would act, and so the whole bad dog thing, of course she'd get maybe fixated on that and everything. And they do that in the Guardians of the Galaxy game too, I think, pretty well.
Which I was gonna say, like, this movie just makes me want to play that game again.
Yeah,
it's
just
like,
so you can
man,
experience the team again.
If you liked this movie and you have not played the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and you're like, man, I wish I had more Guardians of the Galaxy in my life, go and play that game. It is great. It nails a lot of the characters and the tone. It is just like an extension of this, honestly. It feels very, it's very enjoyable. It's funny. You got a lot of that stuff. Go check it out.
Yeah, they take a lot from the characterization of the MCU versions of the characters. It's not like it is part of the MCU or anything, but it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah. Obviously we have the whole segment on the High Revolutionary ship, where we have the sequences with the kids that we kind of talked about already. But yeah, no, I enjoyed a lot of that stuff. Anything else you want to like talk about specifically, like on the ship?
Yeah, I don't really think so. I do like how
Groot. We haven't really talked about Groot at all. Groot doesn't do a ton, I feel like.
Yeah, there's not a ton of Groot, which I think I was thinking about that post movie. Like pretty much every character in this gets, I think, like a solid conclusion, like solid arc or whatever for their character. Groot doesn't, but at the same, I was also thinking like, it's not like Groot has had a ton to do in this series in general. He is mostly like comic relief, kind of like the heart and marketable character. I think he just works well as like a little side character. Like, I mean, first of all, we can't understand him, so it's like kind of hard, I think, for him to have like a super complex arc or anything. But yeah, I think he served his purpose well in the trilogy still.
Yeah, I mean, you have the whole Gamora kind of dynamic with him, where she is able to understand him finally at the end.
Yeah, true.
Which was a nice little thing. But him and Star-Lord jumping off, that was fun. And that moment where they conceal it, pretty good.
I think one of the things I liked about like Star-Lord confronting the High Evolutionary is he's clearly just like out for blood with this guy. He just like does not care about like what this guy has to say.
It's a trap. No, it's a face-off.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like, well, obviously they can't play into it too much. PG-13, family movie or whatever. Like the Guardians, they're not like super do-gooders. Like they will kill people if they need to. Like
they're trying not to.
Yeah, they try not to, but they're not afraid to.
At least Peter Quill does.
Yeah. I think that's something that like like he's clearly seeing red in this moment and everything, but yeah, it's just distinguishes them a bit from a lot of the other heroes.
I thought Rocket was gonna die.
Me too.
Until when he's like, when you have the shot from the trailer where Peter is just like freaking out, thinking that he's dead, Star-Lord, that Rocket's dead. And I thought he was dead until he goes into like heaven, like Deathly Hallows style.
Yeah, I was gonna say Harry Potter style.
And Lila's there, and she's like, "Oh, you want to?" You're like, "It's time." Whatever she says, it's like, but not yet. Like, you can come spend time with us. And I'm just like, she's gonna say, but not yet. Like, I was just waiting for that, and it finally came. Very similar to Dumbledore and Harry. But
yeah, I think the thing that for me, it was like the scene was like it would have been weird if he died where he did. It was like a weird placement in like I think in the overall like just story. So I was like, there's no way. I just didn't feel like he was actually gonna die here. And then when he like flatlined, I was like, oh, maybe. But then yeah, what's the whole?
I mean, I think there would have been something poignant about, not being able to say goodbye, and something kind of realistic about that. How it is kind of like he's just gone, and But I like him coming back. It was fun. They have the big showdown to save everybody, and then go back for all the animals and whatnot. It was a nice thing.
Yeah, his moment in with all the animals and the baby raccoons. It was really, really sweet.
Obviously, the standout action sequence is in that one corridor. Very like Kingsman-esque, I want to say, with all kind of like the camera movement specifically made me think of that.
Yeah,
I actually liked it more than the Kingsman stuff.
Yeah,
that's blasphemous to say.
I mean, it is great. It kind of goes back to what I mentioned earlier, where like every Guardian gets their chance to shine in it. Like it keeps like jumping between them, and then each one gets like a couple guys or whatever, and then it'll jump to the next one. Sometimes there's some combo moves done, and it's really hard to tell what's CG and what isn't, because I mean, I think some of it is at least practical. I mean, the actors look like they're there a lot of the time, like so it's kind of hard. And I mean, there's a lot of kicks and punches, so I'm sure at least some of that is real. But yeah, it's great, that whole sequence. I don't remember what song plays at that point, but it's pretty awesome.
Is it the Brooklyn song?
Oh yeah, the second No Sleep Till Brooklyn or whatever.
Yeah, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Was that in Mario?
Yeah, that's what I was referring.
Much better in this.
Yeah, it fit a lot better in this movie.
Yeah, no, that was really fun. Yeah, then they come and save the day. You get to see High Evolutionary's face. And
I thought it was funny how quickly they just beat him up.
Yeah, they pulled a Boys season 2 and just beat the crap out of him.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, he had quote unquote mastered gravity or whatever. He had powers over gravity, and like I didn't see the gravity boots coming into play there. I was like, oh, okay, they had set up the gravity boots earlier, so
they did.
But, yeah. But then they just beat the crap out of him very easily. Everyone gets like a couple punches in, and Rocket decides not to kill him.
Kraglin has that moment with the arrow. Little Yondu.
Yeah,
flashback. You gotta aim with your heart, boy. Whatever he says. But yeah, no, I thought that was all nice. Then they go back and they kind of say, "Hey, it's time to go our separate ways." And Rocket obviously gets to be the new leader of the Guardians. Rocket, Groot, Kraglin, Cosmo, Adam Warlock. Is that?
And then there's like the kid.
Yeah, that one kid.
Which apparently is like a character. I think I was like reading the Wikipedia summary to try to remember everything, and they listed the character's name. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a character from the comics. I wasn't familiar with her. So
yeah, that was interesting. Then you got the post-credit scene with them as they're attacking, but then also with Star-Lord going to meet his grandfather, and Star-Lord's coming back, which I'm a little surprised by, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it would be really easy for, like the Guardians team to come back. I mean, because really the big ones are Rocket and Groot, and it's just voices basically, right? Like, so I feel like that would be likely that we could see more of that new team or whatever. But yeah, Star-Lord's the main like live action cast member that's going to be returning. I mentioned to you after the fact, he's like the only one that hasn't said he's not coming back. So I was like, that makes sense.
He doesn't have to put on any makeup. I mean, he has to put on makeup, but he doesn't have to go through the whole transformation either.
It's a lot easier for him, for sure. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see more of him. I think it's good. I think it'll be probably more on like a, Avengers, Secret Wars, whatever situation. He'll come back and help fight or whatever. I mean, his character arc, I think, is mostly done. So I don't think we're going to get a ton of Star-Lord or anything.
Yeah. So, anything else, Holden? We have talked about this movie for a long time. We've really gone through every moment that I could really remember.
What moments did you cry at?
I'm trying to, well, obviously when all the animals die, but I think even just like when all the animals are having fun and playing together and me just knowing they're all going to die. And I'm like, this is so wholesome. I'm going to die. Groot says, "I'll love you guys." That didn't do anything for me, honestly.
It was kind of weird.
I don't think they earned that moment.
No.
It wasn't the "we are Groot" or whatever he says in the first one. Like, pretty sure I cried at that.
Yeah, that was something. That was good.
This I just felt like I'm like, I guess that was funny and hard. I don't know, I just didn't.
It was like
really
the one
either.
beat that really just didn't work that well.
It works on paper more than it does like in the moment. Like, it feels like it should work, but it didn't. So yeah. I don't know. It was weird because I was invested in everything else.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, everyone else's endings very emotional. I like that. We didn't really mention much about Nebula, but I like that she's kind of in charge of nowhere now. Gives her a sense of purpose.
Yeah, Drax is not the destroyer; he's a dad.
Yeah,
and that was fun.
Which is really sweet considering his backstory of his, dead family members and everything. So that's really good. Okay, I forgot to mention this when we were mentioning Gamora and everything. I honestly, for a good portion of the movie, thought they were gonna do Chris Pratt or Star-Lord and Nebula like get together.
I thought so too. I thought they were totally doing that in the trailer, and it's really just that joke. That's it.
Well, there's that joke, but it was. I think that was reinforced by the fact there's a lot of them like teaming up in the movie. There's a lot of them like having these interactions, especially about Gamora and stuff. I was like, I feel like this is happening, and then it didn't. So,
and
I think I'm okay with that. But I mean, the joke in the trailer I thought was kind of funny, but in context I was like, oh, maybe they are like actually doing that. I don't know. God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Good dance scene at the end. Apparently James Gunn, I don't think he's actually in it, but apparently he helped instruct how to do some of the dancing or something. There's like some behind the scenes where he's a part of it somehow. So that's fun. But I'm
a little surprised there's like no John Cena in it.
Oh yeah, that would have made sense. Right. Maybe Marvel has larger plans for John Cena.
Oh geez. Yeah. But I think that pretty much wraps it up for me. Holden, any other final things to say?
I don't think so. No.
All right. Then let's move on to our final segment, which of course is What Are You Doing? That One Movie Podcast. TOMP.